DND number 13, For Unto Us, in Jesus' name, chapter 5. It is December 7th, 6 a.m., Saturday morning. Pine Forest Country Inn, Pine Forest, Georgia. Jody Apple knocked softly before she turned the knob and opened the door to Hannah's bedroom. She smiled at the small girl, sound asleep in the bed. The soft comforter was pulled up to her chin. Jody went and sat on the side of the bed and gently placed her hand on Hannah's cheek, and the child gasped and sat straight up. "It's only me," Jody said quickly. "You're okay, Hannah. It's just me." Hannah blinked several times and let out a sigh of relief. "Good morning, sweetie," Jody said. "Good morning. Did you sleep well?" Hannah sighed and nodded. "Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Kino told me that you were used to sleeping during the day." Hannah nodded. "Yes, ma'am, but for some reason, I was able to fall asleep last night." "Well, good. Well, get your days and nights straightened out, especially when you wake up so early. So, do you still want to go with Charlie down to help take care of the puppies this morning?" Hannah yawned and stretched. "Yes, ma'am." "Good. So, go ahead and get dressed. Don't forget your coat. You can go with Charlie, and by the time you get back, you can eat a giant Saturday morning breakfast with us. If you'd like, you can invite Charlie to eat too, though he may have other plans." Hannah pushed the covers away and sat up on the side of the bed. Jody smiled. "So, I heard that you prayed to God to help you, and you feel like he answered your prayer." Hannah nodded. I think he did." "I think so too. So, it's always good to start the day with a prayer. Would you like me to pray with you this morning?" Hannah blinked up at her. "You'll say it?" "Yes, if you'd like me to." Hannah nodded. Jody took her hands in hers. "Dear Father in heaven, good morning. We just want to tell you how grateful we are that Hannah is safe here with us. We're so grateful to have her in our home. Please bless her, Father. Heal her heart and her body, and help her to know that we love her and that you love her. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen." Hannah smiled up at Jody. Jody smiled back. She didn't say anything. She just let the words soak in. Finally, she patted her hand. "Do you need any help getting dressed?" Hannah shook her head. "Okay, I'll leave you to it. Don't forget to brush your teeth and your hair, and then come see me. I'll be in the kitchen." She rose and quickly left her. Hannah rose and headed to the bathroom. It wasn't long before she quietly opened the kitchen door and peered in. The room was giant. Several people were cooking and lining up dishes on the counter. It smelled like heaven. The pretty blonde girl turned to look at her, and she smiled and came to speak to her. "Hi, Hannah." "Hi, Daisy." "Oops, no, I'm not Daisy. She's my twin sister. I'm Lily." Hannah's eyes opened wide. "Wow, y'all look just alike." "I know. It's fun. Daisy's at home right now. We live right next door to the inn." Hannah nodded. "I know, Taylor told me." Lily smiled. "So, you're going to go for a ride with Charlie this morning?" Hannah nodded. And Jody approached. "Well, I see you've met our Hannah," Jody said. "I have, and she is just adorable. Well, Hannah, I'd better get back to cooking or someone will burn the biscuits." She turned and went back to work. Hannah breathed deeply. It smelled so good. She found her tummy rumbling. Jody bent and zipped up Hannah's coat and smiled. "There. Let's go see if Charlie's here yet." They walked out to the lobby, and Jody peeked out the window. "Well, I see him coming through the gate right now." Only a minute later, Charlie came through the door. He grinned. "Hey, Aunt Jody. Good grief, it smells good in here." "I bet. You're welcome to stay and eat when you bring Hannah back." "I might take you up on that." He looked over at Hannah. "Hey, Hannah, you ready?" She nodded. He smiled. "Okay then, let's go." He headed back out the door and held it open for her. Hannah waved at Jody and stepped outside. She'd expected the cold to take her breath away like it usually did, but the new coat must be a really good one because it was keeping her very warm. She looked up at the giant horse standing patiently by the side of the porch, and she swallowed hard. "Don't be scared. He's really gentle, and he won't hurt you." He walked to the steps. "Come and meet him," Charlie said. Hannah moved slowly toward the steps. Come here, Santana, Charlie said firmly. The horse stepped closer. Charlie reached out and stroked his nose. Hey, boy, this is Hannah. He took Hannah's hand and placed it on his muzzle. Go ahead, give him a rub. Hannah swallowed hard and rubbed her hand over Santana's face. And she smiled. He's really pretty. Aw, now you've gone and done it. He likes it when girls say he's pretty. Now he'll be your best friend forever. Hannah giggled. Charlie smiled at the sound. So, I thought we'd use the steps here to help you get up on him. So just put your foot here in the stirrup. Hold on to the saddle horn there, and then swing the other leg up and over the horse. Well, what if he moves? He won't. She nodded and did as instructed. It took her a few tries, but on the third time she sat up on the horse. She looked over at Charlie, wide-eyed. He's really high. Don't be afraid. I'm going to get up right behind you. I need you to take your foot out of the stirrup. She did. Oh, I think I'm going to fall off. Charlie put his hand on her back. No, I got you. He quickly mounted and settled in behind her. She grabbed onto his forearms immediately with both hands, and he chuckled. I need my right hand to hold the reins. But I'm going to put my left arm around you here, he said as he did it. You can hold on to my arm with your left hand, and if you want, you can hold on to the horn with your right hand, if that makes you feel a little steadier. She nodded and did what he said, her breaths coming in big gasps. Okay, you're doing real good. I'm not going to run him. We're just going to walk real slow. Okay? She nodded. He made a clicking sound, and Santana began walking slowly toward the gate. Hannah couldn't contain it. She let out a tiny squeal. Charlie chuckled. We're not going fast at all, see? We're just walking really slow. Hannah nodded, but was still breathing hard. They headed out the gate and turned right, and as they walked down the dirt road, Hannah began to relax a tiny bit. So it's not so scary now, is it? Charlie asked. She shook her head. No, it's okay, but we are up really high. Yeah, he's a big horse. And he belongs to Jake, right? Right. But you keep him at your house. Well, we keep him at our stables. Jake got him for his 16th birthday. And they don't have any stables at the inn, but we do. We do, so we keep him. And Jake used to take care of him every day, but we do it for him since he's off serving our country. How many other horses do you have? Well, we have Sugar and Honey and Rocky and Ginger and Dusty, and we house a few horses for some other people. And you take care of all of those horses? No, Lena takes care of most of them, but not all of them. The other owners come by and care for their horses, and my dad has a few hands that also help, though they have a lot of other work to do, so Lena and I help out, especially since my mom got pregnant. Those babies are so cute, Hannah said. Yeah, they are, Charlie agreed. He guided Santana through the gate that opened onto the Stewart homestead. He pointed up at the large brick home on the hill off to the right. That's my grandparents' home. She nodded. Daisy told me that yesterday. Oh, cool. Are they your mom's parents or your dad's? My dad's. They owned this ranch before my dad was born, and they inherited it from my grandpa's dad, and they got it from my great-grandfather, or my great-great-grandfather. So, does that mean that one day you'll own it? He shrugged. Maybe. I love helping my father on the ranch. So does Matt, my little brother. Hannah nodded. She smiled as they neared the barn. Charlie dismounted and reached up toward Hannah. Okay, so put your left foot back into the stirrup. Good. Now hold on to the horn and swing your right leg over, and I'll catch you. Don't worry, I won't let you fall. She did as he ordered, and he caught her and set her firmly on the ground. She turned and grinned up at him. I did it. He nodded. You did awesome. Let's go see Georgia and her pups. They headed inside. Again, Georgia came running up to greet them immediately. Hannah crouched down to pet her, and she immediately lowered her head to get Hannah to scratch her head. Charlie smiled. He went over to the blocked-off area and stepped inside, and Georgia immediately came to see. I'm going to have to get rid of one of those immediatelys. And Georgia came to see what he was doing. While Charlie filled George's food and water bowls, Hannah came inside the enclosure and lifted the puppies up and spoke to them, making sure she didn't miss one. She loved on them and stroked them and gently placed each one back down. Charlie smiled at her, and Hannah giggled. "They are just so cute." He nodded. He was thinking that she, too, was cute. He was also thinking that maybe what happened to her made him think she needed taken care of, just like the puppies. It's not like he was actually interested in her, like a girlfriend or something. But he did feel like he needed to help her get adjusted to life. A real life, a normal life, filled with people who actually care about her. She's a human being who'd been held like a dog on a chain for 2 years. Only in these parts, you didn't even treat a dog like that, and it really bothered him. He motioned for Hannah to come and sit down on the floor, and he began piling puppies into her lap, and she giggled and laughed, and he pulled out his phone and took pictures and video, then sat down next to her and showed her the pics and video. "When you get your phone later today, I'll get the number and send these to your phone." She nodded. "Thanks, though it's not like I have anyone to share them with." "Well, they're for you, but still, you do have people to share them with. You can share them with Aunt Jody and Uncle John. You can send them to Taylor and Gabe and Daisy, too. And I'm going to show them to my mom and dad and brother and sisters." "Why?" He shrugged. "Because they care about you, and they're interested in you, Hannah. Look, I know you're not used to that, but real families care about each other and are interested in what you're doing. And you, whether you believe it or not, are now part of our family. The Apples, the Stewarts, the Tanners, and the Kinos, that's just the way it is with us." She smiled. "Well, that seems real nice. Thanks, Charlie. You don't have to thank me. So why are you being so nice to me?" "Well, I guess I'm the closest in age to you. You need someone that's close to your age to, like, introduce you to new friends and stuff. I mean, will you be going to school?" She shrugged. I don't know." "Well, you should talk to Aunt Jody and Uncle John and see what they think about that." "What if I don't want to go?" "Well, then I guess they won't make you. But I'm pretty sure you have to either go to school or keep homeschooling." She nodded. "I don't even know what grade I'll be in." "Well, I think you can take a test, and then they'll tell you what level you're at. I mean, I'm in my first year of high school. I figure you're at least in maybe the second or last year of middle school." She nodded. "What kind of grades do you get in your internet school?" "I get good grades. Carl said I had to or I'd be punished." She shuddered. Charlie noticed, and he thought his head might explode. He didn't know why what happened to this girl seemed so important to him, but he did know he intended to be her lifelong friend. He was shaken from his thoughts by the sound of gunfire, and Hannah jumped up, panic in her eyes. "It's okay. It's just my dad and Uncle John and Lena and Matt getting in some shooting practice." She nodded, wide-eyed. "Usually Gabe and I shoot too on Saturday mornings, but he's busy saying goodbye to Taylor, and I'm, well, right here." She smiled at him. What time are the Kinos leaving?" Charlie glanced at the time on his phone. They're probably pulling away from the house right now." "Oh. Well, I'm going to go check on Santana. Are you about ready to head back to the inn and have some breakfast?" She nodded. He turned to leave, and Georgia came up beside Hannah to get one last head rub. Hannah kept her eyes on the tall boy as she petted the dog. "Why is he being so nice to me?" she asked in a whisper, as if Georgia would know the answer. "He was kind. He acted very grown up. He had dark blonde hair, almost the same color as hers, only his had some wave to it. He looked strong, like someone who played sports, and she wondered if he did. He had a nice smile, pretty eyes for a boy. They were an odd color, not brown like hers. They weren't blue either. She'd have to look closer and see what color they were." She didn't know why he was being so nice, but she was glad that he was, because it was nice to have someone her own age to talk to. She'd been alone for years now and didn't even realize how nice it was to have someone to talk to. She didn't realize how much she'd missed that. He made her want to talk, but the thing is, she didn't know what to say. Well, Georgia, I hope I'll get to see you soon. I'd better go. I don't want him to have to wait on me and maybe get mad at me. She put her arms around the dog and gave her a squeeze. Bye. When Hannah didn't come out, Charlie came back in to make sure she was okay. She was hugging Georgia, and he had to smile. His sister Lena had told him that horses and dogs, especially puppies, help people feel connected in ways that other people don't. She told him about equine therapy and pet therapy, and that she was actually thinking about using the stables that she and Jake would build to help trauma victims. It was Lena's idea that Charlie get Hannah on a horse and invite her to help with the puppies. As he looked at Hannah right now, all snuggled up to Georgia, he thought Lena just might be right about that. New scene. It is still December 7th. It's 9:30 a.m. Saturday morning at the Tanner home, Pine Forest, Georgia. Come in, Gabe called as he placed his martial arts uniform into his bag. He looked up as Lily came quietly into the room. He gave a timid smile and nodded. Good morning, Lily. Hey, Gabe. Look, I'm sorry for what I said last night, Gabe started immediately. She shook her head. No, Gabe, you don't have to apologize. I was the one who was unreasonable. He didn't argue the point. I know you were trying to, step into Dad's shoes and protect me. I know I put you in a bad place where you had no choice but to try to keep me from going out alone. I keep forgetting, Gabriel, that you're not my little baby brother anymore. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I do have so much respect for you, for the young man that you've become. We almost lost you this year, and I'm sorry I said what I did. Please forgive me. He smiled. There's nothing to forgive. Please forgive me for being so pushy and for threatening you with physical force. I forgive you, Gabe. I love you. I like you too. I'm sorry I hurt you. I know what I said hurt you because I could see it in your eyes. It's okay, really. He smiled. Dad must have been pretty hard on you. She smiled. With good reason. Was he hard on you? He shrugged. Well, he explained to me that the way I spoke to you wouldn't work in a marriage, and I'd better rethink how I intended to talk to my future wife. She nodded. Good. He chuckled. So, Lily, do you mind if I ask what has you so troubled? I don't mind if you ask. I wish I knew the answer. Mr. Kino says it has to do with all of my sisters having a significant other and not me, though he said it in a much kinder way. Gabe smiled. Well, there's someone out there for you, Lily. She nodded. I'm going to stop praying that God will grant me what I want and start asking him what he wants for me. Who told you that? Well, both Mr. Kino and Dad this morning. Apparently, Mr. Kino and Dad had a long talk early this morning. Gabe sighed. Isn't it cool, the way they always stay on top of everything? I want to be like them one day. Well, you're well on your way. Gabe smiled and glanced at the time on his phone. So, are we good? She nodded with a smile. You and me are good, Gabriel Tanner. Well, I'm on my way to martial arts. You want to join me? She nodded. Don't mind if I do. Give me 5 minutes. Okay, hurry. I don't want to be late. I'm doing a live stream from class. Stop being so bossy, she said as she ran to her room. New scene, still December 7th. It's Saturday early afternoon, Pacific Standard Time. Holly Pines Tree Farm, Big Bear, California. Okay, kiddos, we need 27 trees, Shelley proclaimed. She clapped her hands together. Can we do this? Taylor jumped around in a circle, making a path in the snow. We can. Can't we, Manny? We can, Manny yelled. Young Eric grabbed Nate's hand and Jordan's hand. We're getting the one for the children's home. What are you getting, JoJo? JoJo nodded. Jeremy Davis and I are assigned to get one for the Southeast mission. You feel good enough to do this? I feel fine. My ego's hurt more than anything. Gotcha, young Eric said with a nod. Okay, everyone, gather up, Grandmaster Kino said. He looked around at the crowd. Such a fine group of people, he thought. Joey is going to read off the list, and when he calls out your assignment, let us know you got it so we don't miss anyone. Got it, Jeff said. They haven't called anything out yet, Jason quipped. Joey chuckled and held up his phone to read. Okay, listen up. The L.A. County Children's Home. Me and Nate and Jordan got it, young Eric answered. The Southeast Mission? Me and JoJo got it, Jeremy Davis said loudly. The Southeast Soup Kitchen. Mel and I and Abe have it, Logan answered. The Brooks home. Jamie and I and Mrs. Brooks got it handled, Daniel Davis answered. Jordan smiled at 12-year-old Daniel. He was going to grow up to be just like these men. The Davis boys were on the right track, and she definitely liked the way both boys took it upon themselves to befriend her little brother, Jamie. Young Eric smiled at Jordan. We can help them if they need it. She shook her head. I think they're okay. Daniel seems like a good guy. He is. The Keith home, Joey called. We're on it, Dave and Carol Keith said brightly. The Davis home. Got it, Jeff said. Hillcrest Community Center. Dad and I will get it, young Eric said. The Lees, the elder Lees. Lori and I will take care of it, Justin said. The Kino Newport studio, Joey nodded. Mark and I have it. We also have our own homes with the kids' help. He looked back at his phone and continued reading. The 2 county shelters. Jensen and Kimmy and Jeffy and I have them, Cam said. He smiled. Well, Jensen and I have them. Kimmy, Jeffy, and the babies are going to go get some hot chocolate and stay warm inside. Good. Got to keep those little ones warm, he went on. The Kino Hillcrest studio. We're going to get that too, Jamie announced proudly. So, congratulations on this next one. The new Gabe Tanner Community Center in East Los Angeles has opened its doors, and they need 2 trees. Taylor smiled. We have those, Philip and Lyle Keith said at the same time. Okay, and obviously Eric and Mom will get their 2 trees for their house, and Bree and Ricky will get their 2 trees for their house, and that leaves the big one. Jason and Angel need 7 trees for several homes and centers where they're housing some Angel Foundation recipients. So, once we all complete our assignments, we can converge to help get those trees. Got it, Grandmaster Kino said. Now, more importantly, no one wanders off on their own. Stay with your assigned people. And my kiddos, you listen to the person in charge. Nate, who has you? Eric, good. Manny, who has you? Taylor, good. Abe, who has you? Melody, good. Noah, who has you? Bree, good. Angelina, who has you? You do, she said, unable to contain her excitement. The group chuckled. Good. And Jamie and Daniel, you 2 take good care of Mrs. Brooks and Josie. The boys nodded. And Taylor, who's got you? Jesus? They all smiled and nodded. Yeah, and I'm going to be Jesus' assistant in that, young Eric chirped. Grandmaster Kino nodded. Everybody stay warm, keep your coats zipped up and your hats on your head, okay? Shelley asked. Yes, ma'am, they all answered, even the grown-ups. Okay, let's pray and do this, Ricky said. The large group stood in a circle and prayed. When we get finished, we'll go on a sleigh ride and have some hot chocolate and snacks, Bella announced. And I think there is a snowman building contest at 3. I want to build a snowman, little Emily said. I know you do, sweetie, Mark answered his daughter. Everyone grabbed a saw and headed out across the field to find the perfect tree for their assignment. An hour later, most of the group was working together on the last 7 trees for the Angel Foundation. And when that was almost done, young Eric and Jordan stopped to get some pictures near an old red barn. The scene was Christmas card perfect with the barn in the background and snow-covered pines all around. And once they stopped, though, young Eric, Nate, and Manny thought it was a perfect place for a snowball war, and they teamed up against Jordan and Taylor. The war came to an end when Taylor had to stop to answer her phone. Hey, Gabe. Hey, Taylor, what you up to? Well, we went up to Big Bear to cut down 27 Christmas trees just now, Jordan and I were getting killed by snowballs thrown by my brother and Nate and Manny. So you calling just saved our lives. Cool. Yeah, it is. It's freezing, actually. Well, let me change over to video call so I can see the snow. She waited a few seconds and then answered the call. She turned her pic around so he could see the awesome scene. Wow, that's a lot of snow. Yeah, this is up in the mountains. There's a big ski resort up here. I don't think I've ever been around that much snow, Gabe said. Hey, Gabe, young Eric and Jordan called as Taylor turned her phone toward them. Hey, guys. Missing your girl, young Eric asked. Yep, I guess I am. So, how's JoJo? He's good. We're all good, young Eric said. But we're going to head in and get warm, Jordan said, because I'm freezing. I want to go with you, Nate said. I'm coming. I'll be right there, Taylor said. You want us to take Manny? Jordan asked. No, Manny yelled. I want to play outside. Taylor shrugged. I guess I got him. Young Eric shook his head. Come on, Taylor. I can't leave you. Okay, just a minute. Taylor turned the phone back to her face and Gabe drew a deep breath. It's only been, 8 hours and I'm missing you. It's pretty bad. Well, I can't believe I'm going to say this, Gabe. But you got to focus on the present moment, she said with a giggle. He smiled and nodded. Yep. Don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm having a hard time practicing what I preached. I'm not, she quipped. We're having so much fun. Gabe nodded. Good. So what's that building over there? I don't know what it's used for, but it looks like an old-fashioned barn. Isn't it pretty? We were taking some pictures in front of it. Well, there goes Manny heading toward it. Manny, stop, Taylor yelled. Manny, wait! She started running after him. Wait, Taylor, don't go over there, Gabe said suddenly. She laughed. I have to go get Manny. No, let young Eric get him. Don't be silly, she said breathlessly as she ran to catch the 2-year-old. Manny, stop right there. He grinned and slipped inside the door of the building. Taylor, stop, Gabe yelled. I have to get him, she said calmly, and then I'll stop. She slipped inside the building. It held a tractor and some straw bales and other farming-type equipment. Manny was already trying to climb onto the tractor. She ran up to him and grabbed him around the waist and pulled him away. You are being naughty, she reprimanded. I'm going to tell your dad how you ran away from me and made me have to come and get you. He started crying. Hush now, she said softly. You know you have to do what I say. He sniffed, and she smiled at him. Okay, now let's go find Nate and have some goodies. She put the phone back in front of her face. Gabe, are you still there? Yes, I am, and I'm pretty upset with you right now. Why? Did you hear me tell you to not go into the barn? Yeah, but I had to get Manny. You could have sent your brother. He was much farther away, she said as they left the building and started across the field to catch up to young Eric, Jordan, and Nate. Taylor, he stopped. What? He sighed. Nothing. Okay, well, listen, Gabe, I gotta go. We're gonna have hot chocolate and warm, freshly baked cookies, and then we're gonna have a snowman building contest, and Manny is trying to wiggle out of my arms right now. I'll call you later. Love you, bye. Bye, he said, although she'd already hung up. Taylor tucked her phone back in her coat pocket and set Manny down and gripped his hand tightly. She smiled at young Eric and Jordan as she neared. He's fast for a little kid, she laughed. Young Eric nodded. He's going to be in trouble when Granddad hears that he ran away from you and then wouldn't stop when you called him. Manny frowned and looked down at his feet. New scene. It's still December 7th. It's Saturday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tanner home, Pine Forest, Georgia. Keegan came in the kitchen door with a smile. Mission accomplished, Lisbeth. Jericho is doing well? Yes, and he's probably going to go home on Monday, and he and Rose were very grateful for the food and especially for the dessert. Lizzie smiled and nodded. He's a fine young man, isn't he? Yes, Keegan stated matter-of-factly. He's probably going to be our son-in-law, Lizzie added. Keegan nodded. Probably. Lizzie sighed. So, I think there's something wrong with Gabe. Keegan waited, and when she didn't go on, he asked, is he sick? No, but he said he didn't feel like eating dinner. He seemed out of it. Maybe sad. Do you think this is about Taylor? She shrugged. Could be, but I didn't want to push, and he acted like he didn't want to talk about it. Keegan nodded. Where is he? He said he was going to get in another workout. I'll go check on him. Lizzie smiled and nodded. What would I do without you? Don't even want to think about that, he said with a laugh. She shuddered. Me neither. Keegan headed down the stairs and pulled up short, his eyebrows shooting up. Gabe was sitting on the edge of a bench. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the smell of alcohol. Keegan knew this was not going to be a quick fix. Gabe looked up and offered a goofy smile. Dad? Gabe? What's going on? Gabe shrugged. Not much. You've been drinking? Gabe nodded. It appears I have, he said with a soft laugh. Keegan came in and sat down. What's the occasion? 'Cause I know it's not to celebrate your 21st birthday, he said pointedly. Gabe shook his head to agree and then shrugged. There was no occasion. I was working out and I got thirsty and I forgot my water bottle and I opened the little fridge there and there wasn't any water, but there was beer and I decided to have one. Keegan's brow creased. I think you've had more than one. What's up, son? This isn't like you. Gabe sighed. I don't know. People are always drinking when they get down or depressed, right? Yes. And I know that you know that only exacerbates the problems. Gabe nodded. Maybe. But I wanted to check it out for myself, and right now I'm feeling pretty good. Are you now? Yes, I am, he said slowly, enunciating his words carefully. How many beers have you had? Gabe shrugged and looked down. I think 4 or 5, Keegan sighed. Is this because you're missing Taylor? I don't think so. Can you just let me feel good and not have to analyze it? Keegan's lips pressed tightly together. Yep. Let's do this. Let's have a party. Really? Sure. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. He pulled out his phone. I'll be right back. He headed upstairs as he placed the call. Hey, Keeg, is everything okay? Hello, John. Well, no raging fires, but maybe a slow burn. Are you busy? I can get some free time. Jody won't mind. What you need? We're going to initiate Gabe. Into which club? The one where you wake up in the morning and puke your guts up. And what's the occasion? I'm not sure yet. He's not talking. He's already half gone on some old beer he found in the downstairs fridge. Ooh, right? So can you hit the store and grab a couple of 6-packs? Sure. And you got anything else? Maybe something a little more potent? I have some vodka and some whiskey. That ought to do it. Shall we include Chaz? John asked. I was going to call him next. Okay then. See you two in a few. Thanks. Hey, what are friends for if we can't assist you in teaching your son how to poison his body? Right? Keegan ended the call and went to find his wife. Hey, Lizzie. Gabe is, struggling a bit. We're going to help him wallow. She frowned. Wallow? What does that mean? It means he needs to cry in his beer, literally. John and Chaz are coming over for a while. We're going to party downstairs, no girls allowed. Lizzie wrinkled up her nose. Well, I'm not trying to second guess you, but are you sure about this? He nodded. Yes. Well, don't get too carried away. I'd better not have to take him to the hospital. He moved forward and kissed his wife. Hopefully, he won't make it to that point. Do you know what his problem is? Not really. He's down. He's not ready to talk. Okay. Don't worry. It's going to be all right. Do you need some help with Iris or the babies? No, I have the girls to help me if I need them. Well, I hate to leave you alone. It's like leaving the 99, Lizzie said. So go. Find your son. I'll watch over the flock. Lord, I love you. New scene. It's still December 7th. It's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday night. Tanner home, basement game room, Pine Forest, Georgia. Chaz chuckled. Oh, yeah, those were some good times. I hardly think getting beat up by a bunch of bikers constitutes a good time, Keegan said. John shook his head. I didn't get beat up. And Chaz here held his own. For a minute, Chaz admitted. So Gabe began, why? I mean, why did these guys jump you? They were paid to do so. Gabe shook his head. Some guys jumped me and Taylor at the grocery store last week sometime. I don't remember when it was. It was just this past Tuesday, his father informed him. Yeah, then, Gabe said. He touched the wound on his forehead that was still healing from the incident. I mean, why? Why does everyone have to be so violent? Why is this world so ugly? Huh? Why? And like, those guys who shot me and took me off the side of the road, why would they actually go through with it? What do you mean, Gabe? He sniffed and shook his head. I mean, those guys. Mia paid them too, right? Like someone paid the bikers to fight you. Mia paid those men. But you know what? I don't think they did it for the money, you know? I think they, really liked beating up on some kid, kicking me in the leg right where I got shot. The dude was having a good time, you know? He shuddered and rubbed his hand over his leg. And before that, I never hurt anybody in my life, but they made me hurt them. I broke that one guy's nose, and I shot 2 guys, one at point-blank range. They made me hurt them. Why? Well, there is evil in this world, Gabe, and you know that. What you don't know is it's a lot worse than you've ever seen. Things you can't even imagine. Gabe sniffed again. He leaned over from the chair and pushed his shot glass that was sitting on the coffee table in front of him toward John. John looked at Keegan before he refilled it. He was given a nod, and he poured Gabe another shot. Gabe threw it back and then chased it with his beer. And Chaz shook his head. This kid was going to be sorry in the morning. I wish I could go back to being a kid, Gabe complained. Go back to high school, play some ball, argue with my teacher. He looked down at his phone when it buzzed, and he sighed, declined the call, and then texted Taylor, can't talk now. He turned the phone over. Keegan nodded at the phone. Are you and Taylor having a fight? Gabe shook his head. Of course not. She's the best. She is just the best, isn't she? John chuckled. She's a great girl. You got lucky. Right? And when I tell her to not go into the barn, then she should listen, right? Keegan sat up straighter. The barn? The barn, like up in the mountains. She just went right in like it was nothing. I see. And how did you tell her? I didn't have time, he said, slurring his speech. There's no time to be nice. Did she get hurt? Did something happen? Keegan asked. No, not this time anyway. Gabe, you've been under a lot of pressure lately. So many dangers. So many people trying to hurt you, John said, doing a little digging. Yeah, I'm not afraid, Gabe said, but I am... What? What are you? Keegan asked. Don't know. I guess I'm stressed out. Keegan nodded. Uncle John? Yep. Tell me again about how my dad got my mom pregnant with me before they got married. John coughed. Chaz pressed his lips together to keep from laughing, and Keegan frowned. Don't worry, Gabe went on. I already told my dad that Braden accidentally told me. I want to hear it from you because I know you won't, sugarcoat it. Keegan smiled. Yeah. Go ahead, John. Let's hear your version. John told the story, but did still try to put some sugar on it. So, Dad, Gabe said, tell me the truth. Did you marry Mom because you got her pregnant with me? No, absolutely not. Your mom and I were very much in love, and I already proposed to her before I even knew she was pregnant. I wouldn't lie to you about that, son. You always told me to save sex for after I got married. Right, because I don't want you to make the same mistakes I made. God gives us rules to help us, and if we follow those rules, we'll be much happier. But the path that brought your mom and I together, though it was a rough path, it was a difficult path, I'm grateful for it because it brought me the most amazing woman, and it brought me the girls and the new babies, and it brought me you. So I have no regrets. Gabe blinked back some tears, and his head fell forward, his chin resting on his chest. Gabe, Keegan said. He lifted his head. Yep. Oh, I thought you were about gone. Nope, just resting my eyes. The men smiled. So, do you feel better now that you've had some drinks? Gabe blinked his eyes and then shook his head. No. I feel like blubbering. Gabe turned to John. Do you feel bad that Jake is hurt? I feel grateful that he's alive. I'm sorry he's hurt, but it could be worse. Gabe looked over at Chaz. Uncle Chaz, I bet Lena is upset. Chaz smiled. Lena, too, is grateful that he's alive. Gabe sniffed. Me too. He's like a brother to me. If Taylor got hurt, if someone hurt her, I'd want to kill them. Well, don't think like that, Keegan said. Why not? Really. I already killed some guys who hurt her, but, Dad, was really bad about that. I don't even feel bad about it. I'm not like you. I don't care that they're dead. You said I'd feel bad eventually, but I don't. How's that? What does that say about me? How's that for a great example of a Christian? I'm a fraud, a fake. I don't feel bad. I don't feel a thing. Keegan sighed. Gabe, you don't feel anything because you're still in shock. You haven't had time to work through all of this and to integrate it. Too many things happened in a row. Too many things came at you. You just need some downtime, that's all. Gabe nodded. Downtime. Right. Downtime. There is no downtime, Dad. I have to make a video every day. I have to be a man. I have to help everyone, whoever needs help. Why? Because I always have to be a man, like you, like Uncle John, like Uncle Chaz, like Mr. Kino, like Agent Davis. I have to be in service. I have to protect my sisters. I'll tell you what I need to do. I need to freaking sleep. I need to sleep, Dad. I just want to close my eyes and sleep and not dream. No dreams, none. Nobody kicking me in the leg. Nobody dragging Taylor across the floor and kicking her. Nothing. I just want to go back to the tree. He leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. Back to the tree. Back to the tree. The three men in the room watched the young man as he finally passed out. They sat there silently for a few minutes. Well, you have your work cut out for you, Keegan, Chaz said. Keegan nodded. He's supposed to leave right after New Year's to start school and train at Ameritech. He may not be ready. Keegan, this is obvious PTSD, John said. Will you let me do some EFT on him? I will. The question is, will he? And let's all pray over him, Chaz said. John nodded. Absolutely. Prayer is the most powerful force in the world. And, well, Gabe and Grandmaster Kino seem to have a bond. We should get Eric to counsel him, too, when Gabe goes out west, John added. Keegan nodded. If he goes, yes. He sighed. For now, will you guys help lay some hands on him and pray over him? Let's do it, Chaz agreed. And that is the end of Chapter 5.